Laker fans, stand up. You finally have a podcast that represents you. Make sure you check out Lakers Reign podcast with yours truly, Nick Hamilton. Every week, we have the latest news on the purple and gold and what's going down on the court.
This is Mitchell.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Nate Boyer.
This is Hilliard Guest.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Rob Bell.
This is J.R. Robinson.
This is Dan Stone.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, I'm Mark Valley.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is James Earley, and you're listening to The Break It Down Show.
This is Curt Dunaway, and I am listening to The Break It Down Show.
And now, The Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero, Mark Valley, and Pete A. Turner.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. We're celebrating.
This is a celebration episode. Pete and I have been on this incredible journey.
Yeah.
Been able to find ourselves in places where we just kind of look across the table at each other and go, we're in here right now. With some guest who has fascinated us for most of our lives, or maybe just a short time, but is fascinating nonetheless.
The kind of people that when we say we talk to someone, the person who wasn't there opens their mouth and opens their eyes and says, really?
Wow.
That's how good our journey has been.
Yeah.
It's really lucky.
The tone for the quality of that journey was set from the very beginning, from guest number one.
Uh-oh.
Who was with us tonight.
Look out.
And who's that?
Bringing the Break It Down show full circle once again, making not his second, not his third, not his fourth, but likely his sixth, seventh appearance on our show, and blessing us once again, the great James Earley.
Yes, thank you. Happy to be here.
I enjoy that the first words ever spoken on the Break It Down show were, if you grew up in Vallejo, California, you knew James Earley was bad.
Hey, man. Who's that guy?
Yeah. Man, it's been quite a journey, and you've been a huge part of it, not just in the beginning, but throughout. You helped us get some of the guests that we enjoyed so much, and chimed in on guests that have enjoyed you so much. You helped us do our episode with Felton Pilot.
Oh, yeah. That's my teacher. So I kind of had to be here for that. So that was my pleasure.
Yeah.
Episode with Tommy McElroy.
Yes, that's my brother from another mother, actually, as well.
You know what was funny was we pulled up to the place, and you pulled up behind us.
Yeah.
And we were
right.
Oh, it's Jock and James.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing
we
here?
We didn't bring enough
and
pies.
They were like, we're crashing.
Short story about Tommy, I want to say. I was brought in, I met those guys from the industry, really, from Felton and different people, Tommy and Denny, and had been working with them for years at this point. We produced in Vogue and worked on different things together, and became dear friends. And so we were many years into our own friendship. And then somehow or another, we got to talking, I think, and to make a long story short, I found out that Tommy's mother and my mother grew up together as children in Oakland.
Wow.
I mean, they were childhood best friends and lived on the same street and played together. And we were able to, Tommy's mother, bless her heart, has since passed away. But at that time, she was doing well. And I was able to get her and my mother's sister back in touch. And so they got to talk. It was a kind of beautiful rejoicing.
That's fantastic.
There. You know what I mean? They got to talk and laughed, yucked it up like they used to when they were kids. And so I'm real happy about that. So Tommy, I call him my brother from another mother. And it's quite literally what it is,
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's a terrific reunion. I love how small the world is.
Yeah.
And a lot of the benefit of this show has come from how small the world is. So it doesn't surprise me that you would put a connection together like that, because you put connections together like that there are some people who are blessed connectors in the world.
Yeah.
And I certainly think you are among them.
Well, I'm honored, man.
Wouldn't you say?
I would say, because even how we met was kind of strange.
Yeah. And we were already connected before we met.
We were already well connected and didn't know it, though.
Yeah. Chance encounter came from James' brother Jacques, was one of my martial arts students. Mm-hmm. And I got pretty attached to Jacques because we had a lot of teenagers in that class, and Jacques was a grown man, and he had grown man geometry. And more importantly, what we had in common was grown man flexibility or lack thereof. So the things that I could see Jacques struggle with, I could relate to, because I was like, man, it's just not that easy to throw that leg up that high.
No.
And he and I used to break off into, private lessons almost, because I would see him struggling with something and I would go, hey, man, let me tell you what I did and see if it works for you.
Step over here for a second.
And we had a lot of those sidebars. And in the course of having those sidebars, I found a guy who got my jokes, because your and Jacques and my and Pete's and Curt's sense of humor is pretty obscure sometimes.
Sure.
And we would rejoice in the obscurity. So sometimes he would bring something up and it would be some joke about Boba Fett or something. And I would get it and we would look around and none of the teenagers in the class knew what we were talking about.
What is that?
And we had so many of those moments. But I knew that he was Jacques Earley because I filled out his enrollment card. He started bringing you to the class, and I would say we were probably, 6-7 weeks into you being in that class. And then, of course, you being the other grown man in the class, I would gravitate toward you just as I did Jacques. And we would have our sidebars and laugh at stuff. And I don't know how I did put it together, but I at some point I said, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You are Jacques Earley, and you are his brother James. That makes you James Earley.
That would be my name.
Do you remember me having that revelation? Because I had it out loud.
I do, and it was very, very funny.
Yeah.
But then to find out that you're Daryl Carbolito's cousin as well,
Daryl, Kenny,
yeah,
all kinds of people you had worked with.
Yeah, and
prior.
my dear friends as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, Daryl has been on the show a number of times as well, and has guest engineered the show, which is really Kenny has been on the show, and we've talked about Kenny on some of the episodes he wasn't on. But the thing about Daryl was, bringing Daryl in as a guest engineer, it doesn't take anything to engineer this show. You just plug things together. Daryl has really particular and special gifts as an engineer. So to say that he guest engineered this show, he didn't do anything but bring the stuff so he could sit around and bullshit with us.
Look at how pretty Tara Kemp is.
Right. Stuff like that. Yes, precisely. But those are the types of connections that I think run through the thread of your arc in life.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's not on accident.
Yeah.
It's something that you cultivate.
I'm honored to say that I actually know quite a bit of people, as we all do. But some of the people I know are absolutely incredible, and I'm, dumbfounded and honored to be, knowing them. But to have them actually like me and respect me at the same time, these people that I'm like, I totally revere, it is a little bit surreal for me sometimes when I think about it.
Yeah, when we're in the company of those people, and, Pete and I have been in the company of somebody who you said those things about. Meanwhile, we and those people are like, James is here. We're about to do this with James Earley.
But there's something to that, though, like your ability to recognize someone's greatness. Even if you're great, it doesn't mean you hear that stuff enough, or that you get to see someone really experience your greatness. So when you do that with someone, and I emulate that a lot too. Like when I'm talking to people, I like to thank people. Like I thank Sly Stone.
Yeah.
Man, thank you. Just for everything you've done, because no one hears that enough. And I think that your reverence for other people's work. That translates, and I'd want to be around a guy like that. I'd want that person to be my friend because they appreciate me, and not in an adoration way, but like in a professional way.
They appreciate the work.
Yeah,
that's what it is, because all the admiration comes from, boy, you sure did pour a lot into that, man. That's what makes it genuine. I also want to acknowledge the fly on the wall over here. We're going to get him to say something at some point during this show, and he is himself a drummer. A man of the cloth,
turning red,
and truly a connector. Okay, Curt Dunaway.
Yes.
At some point, we're going to inspire him to say something. He was featured in the Times Herald last week. I'm embarrassing him a little bit, but he has done well in his life, and well enough that he spends some leisure time during the week when the rest of us are slaving away at work. He spends some leisure time during the week, and he likes to fish. So he's down in the Benicia Marina, which is beautiful place to spend some time, and he's down there casting. He's like the Pied Piper. It's only a matter of time before people begin to gather around him. And for some reason, people feel compelled to open up to Curt. And they do, and then he says, well, great. And he gives them some words of encouragement and some words of enlightenment, if they're lucky. And before you know it, he's got quite a crowd gathered around him. And that's what the article in the paper was about. This guy who's down on the marina, and he's just casting off for fish. And what he's getting, along with some impressive fish, is he's gathering a congregation, fishermen who just enjoy what he has to say and take encouragement from it. Are you going to say anything, Curt? Come on, man.
So tell me what you would like me to say.
Nothing in particular.
Well, since you've touched on my calling, I'll just briefly share.
Okay.
Yeah, I went down there thinking that I was fishing for fish, but God had other plans and said, no, I'm going to have you fish for men. Just went down there and started encouraging these guys and feed them periodically, do a barbecue, and paper caught wind of it. And,
oh, boy.
And barbecued 120 pounds of chicken and a lot of links and brats, and just had a great time. And 2 weeks ago had our first baptism out there on the water.
Really?
Yeah. So God's doing some pretty cool things out there on Main Street. So yeah, it's fun.
I didn't realize that you had a baptism.
Had a baptism.
Huh.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we enjoy doing, and Pete mentioned we did it to Charles Quinn when we had Nathan East on the show, is we called Curt and said, hey, you know what? James Earley's going to be at the house. We're going to record a podcast. And he was like, what? I'll come over. And we said, yeah, you should. Come over.
Wow.
So here we all are. We'd like to talk about music.
Okay.
And you did a gig with Rich the other day. We brought up our everybody's mutual friend, Rich. Did you see that link I sent you, Curt? It's not bad, huh?
It's very nice.
Was it Rich playing?
It was Rich playing, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize, I just found out tonight he was your cousin.
Well, he's not really my cousin. I mean, Daryl's my cousin, but he's not really my cousin. Kenny's my cousin, probably more than anybody else. But I have in my life, I'm very blessed to have 77 first cousins.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the island blood.
None of them live here.
Yeah.
So I've had to just take my cousins in periphery, like Kenny. I mean, I think really if you trace the relation between Kenny and myself, we have the same great-great-grandfather. And that's pretty distant. And Daryl and I think Daryl we do things generationally in my culture. So if your cousin is your cousin, then your cousin's parent is your uncle. Now, if it's a second or third cousin and they're your age, then they're your cousin. But their parent is your uncle. Even though in, I don't know, European conventions, that would be like a third or fourth cousin. I don't know what it is. But if you're older than me, you're my uncle. Yeah.
So Daryl's more of an uncle to you.
Technically, Daryl is my uncle, yeah.
Yeah.
But, we always say we're cousins. But we always also say we're distant enough that if we wanted to, we could get together.
Again?
But we haven't yet, but we could if we wanted to. And, I mean, if Rich is around, sure, I'll claim him just because we're of the same, ethnic heritage, and it's very small.
Well, yeah, again, the island blood. So you might do a DNA test and find out you guys are closer than you thought.
It's probably true.
Yeah.
But here's the funny story. When I met Rich, I had initially seen his name on the back of a Bobby Brown. He was on the Bobby Brown "Don't Be Cruel" album. He sang on it on a song that was one of the album cuts. And when I saw the name, his last name is from Guam. It's not. Now, my last name is of Spanish origin. His is not. His is truly of Chamorro origin. That's my people. So when I saw his name, I was like, it's unmistakable. And so I always wondered who he was. And so a chance encounter brought us together. And the next day, I told my dad about it. And he said, where's he live? And I said, he lives in Alameda. I didn't even know he lived in the Bay Area, for one. I certainly didn't know he lived so close by. And then when we met, I was like, holy cow, and you live in Alameda. Huh. So I told my dad about him, and he was like, oh, yeah, that's Frank and Julie's boy.
Ah.
So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they all know each other.
Wow.
And we're just the kids who, So you're probably right. If we did a gene test,
Yeah.
If he had a sister, I probably should leave her alone. Is the point of this whole
But
story.
yeah, what a great talent though, and such a sweetheart of a guy. Man.
Amazing,
He's one of the-
amazing dude and an amazing player.
Yeah. And it's disarming because if you meet him personally, you probably would never know he was even that gifted.
Yeah.
But again, to watch the guy play is just incredible.
How do you describe his gift for drumming? What is it?
He's one of the few drummers, and we have a couple of drummers here at this table. You guys understand, when you play drums, some guys kind of just play the drums, you know what I mean? They don't necessarily become the drums, and I think you should. There's bass players that become the bass, and guitar players, they become one with their instrument. Everyone has that if that's who they are. And Richie,
That's what people say about James.
yeah. Richie's one of those guys. You've seen him. He becomes one with it, and it's pretty incredible and amazing to witness. And his performance is that from head to toe, the whole show. If you don't even know him, you're gonna watch this guy, even if he's just the drummer. He just did a show behind the Whispers, and he invited me down. And I hadn't seen the Whispers in years.
Where was it?
Down in Oakland.
Okay.
No, San Jose.
San Jose. You went to that San Jose
The Jazz
show.
Festival.
Yeah.
And the Whispers were down there. Richie invited me down, got me backstage passes.
I'm so sorry I didn't go to that show because I had a thing
Yeah.
I had to do that morning, and so I didn't make it down to the show. If I had known you were going to be there, I totally would have canceled the thing I was doing and gone with you.
Oh man, I'm standing. And I could have went anywhere. He gave me all access pass or whatever, but I'm standing like right next to Richie where he was playing, and again, just watching this guy, I know him, and watching him play, it was amazing. I got chills watching him.
Yeah.
And he's again dear friend. I get to see him all the time, but to watch him with the Whispers, and there had to be 5,000, maybe 10,000 people out there.
10,000 people for him is not, it's not anything.
No.
He's going to connect.
That happens all
with
the
every
time.
person who sees him.
Yeah.
He's also fun to have lunch with.
Yeah.
That guy's enthusiasm for life and for food and for enjoyment and he smiles from his feet. And
All
this
the
is
way up,
that's
yeah.
why I think when you say he becomes one with the drums, I think that's what he's doing. He's smiling all the way from his feet because the groove happens all the way through his body.
Yeah.
And when you do something like play with him, they got these rooms down at Guitar Center in Emeryville. You could rent a room with 2 drum sets in it. We should go down there, Kurt, and we should just chop in this room with 2 drum sets in it. Yeah. You go in there with Rich, he will lay down a groove that is so fat that you can sit on top of it and fall off either one of the sides for 5 minutes. Just teeter, and he'll just draw you back into the middle and lay you right in that pocket. And he never shows off, although he's got tons of chops to show off.
Yeah.
But he'll just put you right in that place where you can express and you won't miss. I think that's the thing. That's the talent that he has, that if we can talk about what it is he does to a band and why so many people in so many genres across so many acts love him so much is because he makes everybody else a better player. He makes you reach for more, and he gives you that little boost and gets you there.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what you appreciate about him. And it's probably what you subconsciously do that you don't even realize you do.
Wow. Well, I'm honored. I didn't know that I do that.
Yeah.
No, but you've had Richie on the show, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm honored to even imagine I'm the first guest on the show, and you've had Quinn and some of these other amazing cats, man. It's like, wow, what a great club to be a part of here.
Well, just the Bay Area musicians we've had on, Dwayne Wiggins, like you mentioned, Tommy.
Yeah, Dwayne's another dear friend, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you there when we met Dwayne?
No. I was invited, but I didn't make it down.
Okay.
At his studio.
Yeah.
I didn't make it.
His studio / apartment.
Before we get too far away from this, I wanted to ask you some more about Rich, because he becomes the drums. He smiles from his feet. Is he born with that and develops it? Is that something that you can build yourself?
Well, he comes from a family of drummers, actually.
Yeah.
His brothers play, right?
And he's the youngest.
And he's the baby, yeah.
And everybody in the family is bad.
Yeah, their father too, right? Is he a musician? Or?
I don't know if their dad ever played.
Okay.
But their mom and dad both let them all play. And can you imagine raising 3 drummers in one house?
Yeah.
We had Brian
That's a lot
Dunn
of wooden spoons.
on the show, and he is the same. He's the youngest of 3 brothers, and just like Rich. And what ends up happening is the oldest brother will cut the path. The oldest brother in that family is Gerald, and Gerald is a bad boy.
Yeah, he is.
He is also an amazing player. And the middle brother's Kenny. You know, what happens is the oldest brother he'll be the guy who brings home the drum set and starts showing everybody things. And then Kenny will take it further, add his own flavor. And I think what ends up happening to a lot of youngest brothers is when you have guys to look up to who are performers, regardless of what it is they're performing at. Because in the case of Nico, he couldn't help it, because when he was 4 or 5, he had Herbie, my oldest son Herbie, throwing heat at him just because they're in the backyard. You better swing that bat, boy. I'm throwing heat. And it wasn't even a matter of he was throwing heat. He was just a boy. He didn't even realize he was doing it.
Yeah.
But the speed of the game that a youngest child gets to experience if the older brothers engage in the same activity is a different kind of incubator.
That's true.
Would you guys agree?
No, an example to that is somebody like Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Or even Donny Osmond.
Maybe the biggest examples
Yeah.
are those 2 right there. And if you take a pretty darn good gene pool and a pretty darn good environment and inject it with some amazing input, you're bound to get something good. Not to belittle the hard work,
Right.
but that's what gives the hard work opportunity and advantage.
We had Tony Jeffries, a UK Olympic caliber fighter. And
Not Olympic caliber, he was an Olympian.
Yeah, he won
He won
a
a
medal.
medal.
He won a medal, yeah, and never lost a pro fight. He said that he got recognized in the UK as being an elite fighter, so they put him in an elite fighting program. And so now instead of fighting, Golden Gloves amateur tournaments, he's fighting the champion from India. He's fighting the champion from all over the world. And so the number 2 guy isn't doing that. The number 1 guy is. And so that guy's got the big brothers are these champions from all over the world in this case.
Yeah.
And it does elevate your game, because either your game elevates with it, or you're not on that team anymore.
Yeah.
So there's something to that big brother theory, and how you get your big brother, whether it's you go to a talent show and you get pulled up,
Right.
like Preston, and how he went across the country out of a phone book thing and a newspaper ad.
Look, he saw a newspaper ad, and Tom Bell was doing a songwriter seminar in Philadelphia.
Right.
And Preston said, I'm going. And Preston was like 16.
Young, yeah.
And he went, and they started asking for a show of hands. Who came from at least 100 miles away? And Preston was like, I came here from Los Angeles. I'm just going to, I'm raising my hand. And he just wore the crowd out. I came from Houston, Texas. Okay, that's pretty good. Is anybody came here from further away? And ultimately, they landed on Preston, and they went, boy, how old are you? And he said, I don't know. I remember
he was young.
but he was a teenager.
Yeah.
Like somehow they let him on that plane, and they probably shouldn't have. And
Wow.
A juice box and some Teddy Grahams.
And smuggled himself onto a plane.
We're talking about Preston Glass.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And so
But he ended up with the big brother from that.
he did. Yeah. I mean, he attended the songwriting seminar, and then when it was over, Tom Bell said, you came all the way out here by yourself? Yes, I did, sir. Why don't you come have some dinner with us?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was that.
Yeah. And what a big brother to have. Because
Boy.
Tom Bell he's the guy when it comes to producers.
Yeah.
You know.
What did it for you, man?
As far as
As having big brothers?
Well, I mean, I've had a few, but my mom, I've mentioned this to you before. I'm going to say I had a big sister first who happened to be my mother, and I was a little boy drummer. I played drums when I was a kid. That was the thing I wanted to do. And my mom at the time played bass. She played bass and guitar. So I got to watch her, and she was my first mentor in that. I mean, right along with my dad. He's not a musician, but they both absolutely supported me from day one with this music thing. And my mom, she played bass and guitar and taught me just, son, put your hand there. And when I was ready, she showed me how to do it. And so I had her, but outside of the family, none of my siblings were real musicians. So my first real mentors were just at the school, the music programs at the school, and I had benefit of that. And then also just people in the neighborhood that taught me music. And then, moving forward later in life, I was blessed to meet Felton Pilot, as I told you before.
Yeah, and brought him to this very dining room table.
And Felton, even though my dad is my dad, he's my father, love him. Felton certainly is my musical father.
Yeah.
I call him that, but at the same time, he's a big brother, best friend, all of that stuff, a mentor.
Yeah.
And he's the one who brought me into the technical world, taught me how to be a producer, taught me how to be an engineer, and I always wanted to learn how, but at a very young age, like I was about 20 years old, I had this person in Felton that met me and really just liked me enough, and just kind of like Preston's story, I guess. Felton brought me in. Preston and Felton are actually dear friends too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Felton brought me in and just like without hesitation taught me everything about engineering and production at a time when nobody else would. You could knock on doors and stuff, and people are always like, "Get out of here, kid," and whatever, go to school and find somebody else. But Felton just took me in and just welcomed me into his home and taught me everything and made me a producer and an engineer in his studio. And then the next thing you know,
and gave you the wheel, so to speak.
yeah, oh yeah. And the next thing you know, he absolutely gave me the wheel, and I'm driving the boat at this point. I'm steering the boat. And
He told you to build the boat, didn't he? He's like, here's all these cables.
we built.
I'm going away for the weekend.
Yeah.
Had this thing wired when I get back.
We wound up building a fleet of boats. Yeah, but he taught me everything, man. And then we were lucky enough to work with not even just MC Hammer and E40. We really started the careers of MC Hammer and E40, and at the same time we were able to. You know what? Someone, Jay Logan, another producer in the Bay Area, just sent me a reminder. He was thanking me and the other producers that worked on a Spinners record. I forgot that I produced the Spinners back in like 1986 at Fantasy Records. I was a staff producer there with Felton and others. But yes, a bunch of us, we produced a bunch of songs on the Spinners, man.
Sometimes James is annoying. He just remembered that he produced a Spinners record.
Yeah, I forgot. It happened so fast because I was doing so much. A lot was going on, and I'm working with all of these great talents. And yeah, my mouth is open and I'm dumbfounded, and honored to be there. Just really didn't even get a chance to come up for air at the time. But yeah, the Spinners were one of the many projects.
When you are producing for the Spinners in 1986, you aren't that old. I mean, you weren't that far removed from Marine World. That was your job for a minute, right?
Yeah,
Marine World, like washing elephant butts and stuff. And so within a matter of months, right, you're sitting across from the Spinners who they're established at this point. Yeah. How do you...
Curt and I are not done with that visual.
I know, that's a tough one.
I'm still thinking of washing elephant butts.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to avoid that one.
But I mean, how do you explain to them what you need from them? As I know you do it, but like, how do you do that? Like, not even the balls, because you got the chops to do it, but when you sit across from real pros and you're like, not good enough, or I want you to think about your bait, whatever it is. Where does that come from? Well, it's so early in the game.
At that point, I wasn't the hands-on. I mean, Felton was there, so Felton was pretty much taking care of that sort of thing, and some of the other producers. But I was there, and I was one of the producers. Like, we created the music for the project. And got the, my job at that point was to get the groove right and help with the lyrics or whatever I had to do to get the song ready.
Okay.
But as far as the vocal production on that particular project, Felton, I think, handled the duties for that. But I got to witness it. I got to be a part of it, though.
Well, I could see the dynamic with Felton, where you would do something and you would step up in some way that was particular to what your responsibility was.
Sure.
And then you get the look from Felton that says, that was a good one.
Yeah. Oh,
Keep that up.
Keep doing it. Yeah. They wanted me. I was allowed to sit at the big table with the big boys.
Yeah.
And I was honored because I was the youngest kid there at the time.
Right. And the big table was a 128-channel SSL console.
Yeah. And they didn't kick me out. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for somebody to be like, you know what, you're not supposed to be in here. Get out. And it never happened. As a matter of fact, they didn't want to work without me. We don't want to start this till James gets here. We got to wait for James to come. And
He's watching some elephant butt. As soon as he gets done scrubbing that down, he'll be over here.
Yeah. No, thankfully I was done with that by then.
What have you been up to lately, man? This whole conversation about Rich began because you said you recently played with him.
Well, I'm in a band with Richie. We're in Richie is a
You are annoying.
He's a super in-demand musician, but it just turns out that I'm in a band with him, a corporate band. And we do big events where, we're wearing suits and tuxedos, but we'll be doing somebody's gala affair at somebody's beautiful mansion in Napa. Or
who else is in that band?
They just flew us to Seattle. We did a wedding up there, and just all these incredible. And it's really a beautiful event to be at, and just to even be there is great. But to be in the band,
you get to play,
and we get to play. And the sound, it's like really a private concert. And that's why it's a big deal. And that's why we have somebody like a Richie Aguan in that band. We have to have.
Or a James Earley.
We have to have that level of musicianship because it's a big deal.
When people refer to someone as a and then insert your name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's like a James Earley.
Yeah.
Who else is in that band?
Well, we have.
Are the players somewhat interchangeable?
Well, yeah.
You have
it has to be because
3 or 4 cats that you can plug in because everybody's in demand.
Everybody's in such demand. Like even Richie's not always there because if he's out with the Whispers, the phone, Richie's phone is ringing.
Richie's phone is ringing.
But then we have also Michael Spider-Man Robinson who plays keys with us. His phone is ringing, and he's like a super in-demand keyboardist. We have Ken Harrell on the guitar. I don't know if you've met Ken, but you guys should. He's just like probably... Yeah, he may be the baddest guitar player in the world. This guy is the guy, and he could play anything, like that.
Where is he?
He's
here in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I think he lives in San Jose, but you got to get him on the show.
Yeah. Richie and I are doing a road trip to San Jose anyway.
I wanted to take a second out of the show and talk to you guys about our sponsor, WeFixYourScript.com. What I love about these guys is they're encouraging you, just like John, Mark, and I, to create something. If you think screenwriting is your thing, or if you've got a script that you're kind of stuck on, this is what you do. You don't got to buy anything. Just give these guys a call. Schedule a 15-minute consultation for free. It's WeFixYourScript.com. I highly encourage you guys to support these guys. Reach out to us. Reach out to them. Reach out to WeFixYourScript.com.
We'll go down there. We'll get them.
You should get them on.
Yeah.
And then we have our lead singer is a young lady named Dee Coco. She's an incredible singer. She's another in-demand talent.
Sure.
But it's her band. It's her band, and she's brought us all together under her umbrella.
What's the name of the act?
It's Dee Coco and Company.
Okay. I wanted it to be Dee Coco and the Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, you know what? we thought about that. Me and Richie were laughing about that, and that was something we were playing around with. But right now it's just and Company. Also, we have another singer named LeJean. I can't think of his last name. But he is just an incredible singer. So everybody in the band, and sometimes we have horn players sit in with us. Eddie Minifield sometimes performs with us.
Well, he's part of our San Jose road trip too.
Oh, good.
That's why he precipitated the San Jose road trip. Yeah.
And then also Juan Escovedo has played with us.
Juan's going to get in trouble.
Juan's going to get in trouble in a minute. We'll talk about that off the mic.
Okay. I'll beat him up for you.
Yeah.
We have the same initials.
Please, I know. You two are my favorite JEs. I don't know if I know another JE, but the two of you, I associate with each other because there are plenty of pictures from plenty of sessions that you guys have done together.
Yeah.
Dr. J has JE for initials.
Oh, that's true. See, there you go.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And Magic's the mirror image of that.
Okay.
Oh, good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You were good. I'm bringing him to my favorite game show. He's going to be on there with me. Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Fortune.
No whammies. No whammies.
Yeah, Snoop has that show. Joker's wild.
He's got the Joker's wild.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
going to be funny.
That
I'm going
is
to get
gonna be
Snoop
funny.
on the show because he's doing.
Boy,
press
we're
right
just making commitments on this show.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about Eddie M because Eddie Minifield was a sax player in Prince's band and in San Jose as well. So he was the reason for the road trip. We're going to go down there and get him. Rich said, yeah, we'll get him.
This is one of the best things about where the show's at now is we can get people that are really exciting. But also, because I'm down in L.A., I can have Mark ride shotgun, you ride shotgun. You can bring in Rich and have him sit with you.
Yeah.
It's really opening up like what we do and how we do it and everything.
Yeah.
It's real. I'm excited about it.
It is pretty exciting.
Let me say this about Eddie. Eddie is on my very short list of another sweetheart of a person. I think we've mentioned a few of them. I mean, Richie being one of them. The Escovedo family, it's just they're all sweethearts. And there's many more, but Eddie Minifield is one of them. He is probably one of the best guys you could ever know. And it just so happens he's also one of the most incredible saxophonists that you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you meet, he's going to be one of the best that you ever meet because he's an incredible player. We all have admired him from his days with Prince. My short story about him is I was in the studio in Alameda, at the studio actually where Richie recorded with Bobby Brown and all. It's the same studio we were at.
Okay.
Owned by Michael Denton. You should go interview him.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Denton is a dear friend.
We say yes to everybody.
Yeah.
And I was there, and I was at the studio, and I needed a saxophone part done on a song. Michael Denton, the owner, was like, hey, who can I call? And he's trying to, he's going through his book, and I'm going through mine. And next thing you know, he said, oh, I can call Eddie. And I'm like, who? He's like, Eddie Minifield. He kept saying Eddie Minifield, and I didn't know at the time.
Oh.
Minifield.
That he was talking about Eddie M.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I mean, he went by that moniker professionally for many years. That's what we all knew
But
about.
his name was Eddie. So he calls his friend Eddie Minifield, and then I'm like, okay, whatever. Eddie Minifield shows up, and when he walks in, it's Eddie M.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow.
What just happened?
I didn't even know. And my friend, the owner of the studio, he didn't know that I didn't know him as Eddie Minifield. So anyway, he comes in. Man, and I pay everybody when they come to record. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with that. Eddie came in, and, I pulled the song up. Eddie laid his part probably in about 5 minutes.
He's one take Jake.
One take, absolutely. It was incredible what he did. And I was like, whoa. But when it was all done, I was like, wow, man, thanks for coming through. And you came through so quickly. And I was like, wow, I'm going to pay you. What do I owe you? Whatever it is, And he was just like, no, you don't owe me anything, man. I'm just happy to do. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. He would not take money from me. He was just like, no, I'm happy to do this for you. He shook my hand, hugged me, and that was it. He came and played on my song for free, dropped everything he was doing, and I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Eddie M. You know what I mean?
Eddie M.
Yeah.
And he's ever since then, he's just like this. And again, it turns out that me and him were mentored by the same individual, and I mentioned his name. Gone now, but his name is Phil Hardiman. He headed up a music program for youth in Berkeley. And I was blessed when I was a child, I don't want to be all over the place, but when I was a kid, 4th grade, I was in a music program for kids in Berkeley that actually helped to move young kids into music and teach them about jazz. Mm-hmm. And it was taught by and headed by this individual, Phil Hardiman, who was our band leader. And it was an incredible band of kids that played jazz music. Well, I was in it in the 4th and 5th grade.
The talents of a lot of.
He did.
Yeah, I mean.
But I was in that band in the 4th and 5th grade, and then I moved away. I went to L.A.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to that in a minute.
Years later, I found out that Eddie joined that in like the 9th or 10th grade.
Okay.
And he was mentored by the same individual.
Wow.
So, since then, me and him both laugh about that. We kind of came from the same place.
Yeah. In the formative years.
Yeah.
You moved to Los Angeles. We talked about this. Well, we've talked about this plenty of times personally, but we talked about this on your first appearance on the show as well, that you went to Los Angeles during high school and went to Fairfax High.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Fairfax High with everybody, with a generation of Fairfax high school students that was, it was like the equivalent of joining the Mickey Mouse Club.
Really?
It was like everybody from there in those years branched out to do some amazing musical stuff.
Especially for that time, that era of music that they represent. There's so much power in all of their art and what they've created.
Fairfax High School. I call it. It's right on the corner of Fairfax and Melrose. It's the other high school. It's the sister high school to Hollywood High School.
Yeah.
And it's probably only 2 or 3 miles away from Hollywood High, if that.
I just want to acknowledge that it's also right around the corner from Pink's Hot Dogs.
I like hot dogs.
But we call it. I lovingly call Fairfax High School Rock and Roll High School.
Rock and Roll High School.
Because a lot of rock stars, talents, musical talents went there at different times, and I was blessed to go there. It wasn't Beverly Hills High, but it was a really cool school.
It was gritty.
Yeah,
it
was really just a great time and a great school. Turns out also Mila Kunis went there also, as well as Demi Moore. And they both were married to Ashton Kutcher, which is interesting.
And they went to the same high school.
They went to the same high school, about 20
many years apart. Right.
Yeah. But that's interesting. But yeah, when I was there, though, I went to school with Slash. Also, the Chili Peppers were there as students. We were all kids together, and we knew each other. So when these guys broke out and became famous, it was like, whoa, I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? Because I knew them as students, and now they're like world famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just world famous, but like top 5 worst, top 10 American bands ever.
Ever.
It's incredible.
Oh yeah, household name.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm honored, but also the older Jackson brothers went to Fairfax High School too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So when they moved out here from Gary, Indiana,
pretty much they went right to Fairfax High School at that time. Yeah.
Huh. How far did they predate you?
In age?
Yeah.
Oh. Not much.
Because you weren't there with any of the Jacksons. They're older than you. No. You're talking about like Jackie.
Yeah.
And Tito.
Jackie's about a decade older than me.
Sure.
And even Michael was about 6, 7 years older than me, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. But still, it was still pretty fresh knowing it was a big deal knowing the Jacksons were there. Oh, one more bit of trivia: the song "My Sharona." The girl Sharona went to Fairfax High School.
Huh.
She's a real girl.
I wonder where she is.
She's a real person, and she was a student at Fairfax High School. And the lead singer from that band met her, fell in love with her, and wrote a song about her, and it happened to become this massive hit.
Yeah.
She was a student.
Who's the bigger hit, Sharona or Donna? Because that song is huge. That Donna's still alive, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Donna's like a super classic, though.
Yeah.
But then Sharona is like the jam. You know what I mean? And I think forever the jam.
Sticky.
Yeah.
Nobody can forget that song.
Yeah. Special place, though.
Right.
It was really cool.
Now, wait a minute, though, because maybe Rosanna went there, too. I don't know that for sure, but it's possible, right?
Definitely possible.
I don't think so.
Okay.
They're Arquette sisters. I don't think they went to Fairfax.
Oh.
They might have been from the Valley or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I think they were L.A. girls. Yeah.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know about how we do this show, and being that you're really, if anybody deserves credit as a creator of the show, you certainly have influenced us from the very beginning. Who should be on this show?
Wow.
We're going to start with Eddie M. So, Eddie, we're coming to get you, man. We're coming to get you.
You got to have Eddie. You got to have the E family.
Now, this is why Juan's going to be in trouble. But we'll talk about that.
We'll make that happen. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's going to happen.
All right.
Even if I have to call him myself.
Yes.
But who else? Richie.
I want to make that happen before you leave the house, by the way.
Well, we talked about Richie enough, but has he been on here?
He has been on here, but he needs to come back because he was so reluctant, because he's such a humble guy. And he was like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I have anything to say.
How long did it take us to warm him up?
I don't know. We warmed him up. He was episode like 71. Can you believe, James, that Rich took 71 episodes to come on this show?
That's a little long.
And I mean, I barbecued when he came over.
Wow.
And even tempting him with barbecue from the very beginning, it took him 71 dang episodes for the show.
But partly in his defense, he is busy.
He's busy. I was going to say.
He'll play
totally
any
busy.
gig.
He honestly is that busy.
Well, and then not only that, but he came over, sat down at this dining room table. He was reluctant. We had dinner, loosened him up. We turned the mics on, and then he started going. By the time we turned the mics on, it was probably 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it was late.
At night. He had done 3 gigs that day, and it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
So, for a guy to be busy enough that he's doing 3 gigs on a Wednesday, that was, he came tired. He was like, man, I'm just kind of tired. Okay, we're going to feed you and turn this mic on. I don't know what I'm going to say. So I don't know what I'm going to say. I think his show was 2.5 hours long.
And it's one of the most successful shows we've ever done.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I want to say that his show has had more listens than Stuart Copeland.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me say this. I talked about when I was on before. I talked about a lot of my history as a producer and all of that. But I think I have to talk about because you asked what I'm doing now.
Mhm.
I've been doing a lot of live performances, playing with different individuals. I'm a musical director now for different shows, or I'm just because the band that I told you about, the corporate band, I'm the musical director for that as well.
Okay.
I'm the bass player, but I'm kind of the person that oversees the music and basically producing the live performance.
That surprises no one at this table.
Well,
Please continue.
but what I was gonna say is, it has taught me. I've been really kind of in a way going to school because I've been in the studio producing for so long
Yeah.
that what happened is I put down my instruments because I'm a multi-instrumentalist myself, but I wound up putting the drumsticks down, putting the bass down or the guitar down, and the keys. I would play it only when I needed to. Okay, there's a song. I'm gonna play the song, and then that's it. It was no real practicing or anything of my instrument. And that's a mistake to a musician, but it might be okay for somebody that lives in a studio. And it was. I had children and, I'm raising my kids and all that stuff. But people would ask me to play live, and I was always like, well, no, I'm busy, or I got to take my kids to school, so I can't do that late night gig because I got to, take my kids to school in the morning, so I wouldn't do it. And well, eventually my kids were grown, and I didn't have that excuse. So I reluctantly actually did a gig. I took one, and I was scared to death because I didn't know if I had my chops together.
You need to quit playing.
I could play, but I didn't know. You know what I'm talking about, though, John.
You do?
I
Curt,
didn't.
help me out here.
I,
What's going on the other side of the table right now?
No.
I didn't know if I had.
He knows what I'm talking about.
I didn't know if I
too.
had my chops together.
No, I didn't. I wasn't sure because let me just say,
Uh-huh.
and you guys know this.
Uh-huh.
The live game is very different from the studio game because all you're doing is laying a song down, basically a 5-minute song, and it's done.
Mhm.
You play it for 5 minutes. You might do a couple of retakes or whatever, and that's it. Even that discipline can be difficult to somebody that doesn't play, but if you do play a little bit, it's fine. But on stage, it's a whole different game. You got to be ready. Some of these shows are 2 and 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be, and then if you add in the
there
sound
is
check,
there is an endurance
Yeah.
to playing live.
if you add in the sound check and the fact that you possibly had to carry in your own gear and all that stuff, it's quite the workout. You know what I mean? It might be an 8-hour hit. If you add in, everything when I load it in and it's in sound check, so there's a stamina involved.
And I'm positive that if right now somebody said, "Hey, there's a gig in Santa Cruz," you would drive the 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
And do exactly what you're talking about after a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
And then or longer.
Yeah.
We've all done that, right?
Hell of a commute. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the energy that comes, you have to sustain it for a long period.
Yeah. Quite possibly 8 hours
Yeah.
or longer. And it might be, as you said, out of town. You may have to drive to Lake Tahoe, which we've done,
Right.
or Los Angeles,
Yeah.
or whatever. Get on a plane and fly to some other state or even another country. But let me just say this: being around these amazing musicians like a Richie, a Guan, or whoever, it was like going to school because you have to keep up with these guys. And as you know, Richie's no slouch.
Yeah.
We were talking about him, but
He's road hardened too.
there's so many more. I mean, Brian Collier, if I'm pronouncing his last name right, from Confunction.
That boy is bad.
He's ridiculous. Just an oh my God drummer. And so many others. So me as a bassist, I have to keep up with these guys, especially the bass and the drums are really that's the important marriage in any band.
Right.
That's a heartbeat.
Yeah, the pulse. It has to be there and it has to be right. And if it's not, there's something wrong. And so we have to get along. We better lock when we play. So what I'm saying is this had to teach me. It was a different discipline, and I had to get into it and keep up with these guys. Some of the baddest keyboard players. We're all playing scales. We're playing. There's key changes that have to be done, modulations that have to be done. Sometimes the song is in E and you learned it in E, but somebody needs you to play it in A flat, and you got to transpose.
And by
it
the
on
way, right
fly.
after that second chorus, I'm gonna get out of your way and I need you to rip.
Yeah. I need you to solo,
Mhm.
and do it right now. Boom.
Yeah, yeah.
And you got to be ready. And so, anyway, that whole thing is like going to school of hard knocks. And
Yeah.
I love it. Scared me to death. And it would scare anybody to death if you just thrust into it. But it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. But I really enjoyed it. And I enjoy playing with these guys. And they teach me as much as I might teach them. I probably teach them this much, but I'm learning a lot just doing that.
I want to help you out with your thing, worrying about your chops in the live play. When we talked to Nathan East, he talked about how Chick Corea flew him out to Jakarta. And he's like, I practiced the whole way because I had to get that stuff down because Chick doesn't play. Everything he plays is hard.
Yeah.
And then John and I are thinking, wait, you played your bass the whole way to Jakarta? What were you flying on?
That's a long way. And how did you take your bass out?
On the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's one of those planes.
yeah. But it's impressive because Nathan East, who I was blessed to meet very briefly, we shook hands at a bass player's musician in Los Angeles about a couple of years back. But I've only met him briefly. But still, I was honored because he is absolutely one of the best bass players on the planet.
No doubt.
On a short list, if you name 10, he's on that list of 10 of the greatest.
He
bass
might be
players.
3 of them.
Yeah, he might be 3. Yeah.
Yeah, he's high enough on the list that all the other guys at his level on the list they would all defer to each other.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm not the best. It's these guys.
This
He's
guy.
that high up.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need any of the accolades because he's just the most humble, down to earth guy, and just
Can play anything.
absolutely. I saw him play with Eric Clapton, and he did. He played everything.
Yeah.
But he also plays it in a way that it's Eric Clapton's show, and Eric's not. You know who Eric puts his arm around when he walks off stage? He puts his arm around Nathan East.
Yeah. Right along with that, he's pretty much become Babyface's exclusive producer.
Mhm.
And Babyface produced Eric Clapton, not too long ago.
Yeah.
Fabulous
Change the
production.
world.
And they've become dear friends. But he basically stole Nathan East from him. And
Yeah.
so whenever Babyface does a tour now, he brings Nathan with him.
That means that Babyface and Eric Clapton and Phil Collins cannot tour at the same time.
That's right.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
When you clog up the tour schedule like that, like Eric Clapton says, hey, so I'm going to go out in June of next year. And Babyface says, I already got June of next year. All right. I'll wait till July.
Yeah.
And
When do you
we
go
asked
home?
him about this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to I will save the story how I remember it, but basically he was out with Eric Clapton, and then Phil Collins, this guy, calls him and says, you've got these 2 dates open on our break with Eric, so we're going to fly you.
Yeah.
Like over here.
It's like you guys are playing on Friday
Uh-huh.
and Sunday.
Mhm.
Can we just jet you to Miami on Saturday?
You know that
And then
happens.
we'll put you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Because even while they're on their major tours, the Grammys happen
Right.
or whatever, and they have to fly out for that.
Yeah.
And then they go back and resume their tour.
Well, that
It
was the
happens.
thing about the Jakarta gig with Chick was that he flew him out there because he was on the road with somebody else. And Chick said, I got to play this thing in Jakarta and I want to bust out this song and I need you to play it. So I'm going to send for you. And he was probably on that jet by himself, which is why he could take his bass out. So, man, when you get to the point where somebody will say, I'm going to put you on the plane by yourself, just get here.
Yeah.
Do me that favor and get here.
We're sending a jet for you.
Yeah.
Right.
So just be at the airport in an hour
Yep.
and we'll take care of everything.
And there's guys like that, but there's only so many in the world that
Yeah.
are at that level. So, you can talk about Claypool or Flea or any of those guys, but you're talking about a handful of dudes that get flown on days off, thousands of miles. And then to have them be so down to earth and humble.
Yep.
It's fantastic to see that.
Speaking of which, I hope you get Flea on. Michael Balzery is
Yes.
his name.
Yeah.
And we were in band together in high school. I'll never forget. He played cornet. So you asked me who you should have on. I think you should have him on. I'll never forget the day because I used to sit outside class playing my bass. We were in band together. In band, I played snare drum and also bass drum and reading music. And in that same, because it was orchestra.
Uh-huh.
And in that same band,
You guys were in the concert band.
Yeah, in that same band, he's playing cornet. And I remember when he began to play bass, and so he bought a bass, some little cheapy bass, and he would see me playing my bass outside the class, and he was like, "Whoa!" I'd be slapping away doing my stuff, and he's like, "How do you do that?" And I was like, "Hey, man, check it out." And then, of course, almost like a movie, he looked at it and cut away. I mean, this guy is a revered bass player now, beloved by the world.
Right, with a large hammering magic thumb.
Yeah.
So powerful that he really plays lead in that band, and the guitar often does the bass job. Just doom 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 doom.
Certainly,
from the guitar,
lead, bass is a lead instrument in that band for sure.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get him on if you can.
Let's continue that list. Who else?
I would say Stuart Copeland, but you did that. He is my favorite drummer in the world. I love you, Richie. Don't get mad at me for saying that. Richie's my brother, though, so I can say that. But Stuart Copeland is absolutely my favorite.
He was the first guy, and I want you to help me understand because I don't know. He was the first guy that we've had on who didn't talk about a pocket. He's like, no. I'm more Afrobeat, loosey-goosey. You can't ask me to do that. I can't do. And John gave him he's like, what if you guys swap these songs? He's like, I can't play that song. Yeah. So here's a guy that can play all these incredible things and really innovate how these sounds are created and bring in the Arabic style in. But what the hell does all that mean?
You mean what he's
the
styles? Oh, what happened is just very briefly, and I don't know if he touched on that or you guys. I need to listen to the show. I haven't had a chance. I'm just loving the fact that you guys had him on, but I know his life story, and his parents were spies, both of them.
Right.
His mother was a Britain intelligence agent, and his father was CIA or something like that, Secret Service.
Yeah, like first generation CIA.
Yeah. And that's how they met. They were spies. Like, he's a real spy kid.
Right. They were chasing Boris and Natasha.
Yeah, exactly. And so because of that, him and his brothers, they traveled the world as kids. They had to move a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they grew up in a lot of different countries, some Middle Eastern countries, and maybe even in South America, different places. And so he had benefit of that, because he loved music already. He was hearing these rhythms and learning about different rhythms, than you might learn if you just hear in America.
Sure.
He was like, hearing all this stuff. So he used that. And, when he came to the police, to be honest with you, I can hear it. And, the way he plays drums is different from anyone.
Because he never talked about pocket ever.
Yeah.
And we always talk about pocket on the show.
Yep.
Does he have a pocket?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't think in those terms.
He doesn't think in those terms.
Right. Because he is somebody
he does more than he probably lets on, but
he has to.
He doesn't have to give it much thought.
I consider him to be more, and I say this with love, more. I would label him more of a percussionist than a drummer.
I agree.
The reason why I say that is because he approaches drumming as a percussionist.
I can see that.
More so, I mean, he almost sounds like an entire percussion section when he's playing. He's not just, of course he's playing the pocket beat like you said, but he's doing all this other stuff around it.
Yeah.
All the extra stuff that really 3 or 4 guys might do together.
When I think of his sounds right now, as you're talking, I'm thinking of percussion. Percussion sounds like him hitting something other than the middle of the snare.
Timbales.
Yeah, he always had those octobans.
Octobans.
The thing about his playing for me was when I was growing up, I grew up on all the groove stuff. I grew up on Harold Brown. Yeah. I grew up listening to guys who were helping me make sense of the drums. And a lot of those guys eventually led up to Alex Van Halen, who was the guy who kicked me in the butt and made me go, all right, I got to get a drum set now because I think I know how to speak this language. And I got a drum set and I set it up and I put my snare drum right on 2 and 4 and built everything around that. And then I heard the Police and I went, wait a minute, hold on. I thought I had this figured out.
Yeah.
This is a whole different language.
Absolutely.
Just his when you take something like Walking on the Moon and it's a reggae rhythm, but that was really for me my first exposure to putting the bass drum on 2 and 4 and playing around that and building a groove around the backbeat being at the bottom. And that's mind-blowing.
Mhm.
It's so different. And all kinds of things, like just the way that he would splash around on a fill, flada, 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 da, da. And what are you doing? It's almost like sketchy.
Yeah. But you know what's happening there, and Stewart, I should have really, just like you're here, Curt, I should have been at the interview you did with Stewart, because I'm probably his biggest fan. I really am. But anyway, what he's doing.
I drove to Los Angeles by my dang self.
I should have been in the
He
car.
rented a car.
I
and
really
drove.
should have just swung by and said, James,
angry
you have
at
to
you.
You should have
stop
done the game to him.
doing what you're doing right now.
I'm angry at you for that right now, for leaving without me. I'm pissed off as we speak. But anyway, Stewart, what he's doing is actually, and this, I wish Jacques was here too, because he could talk about that. But Stewart was basically using his instrument to help shape the songs.
Mm-hmm.
More so than a lot of drummers you hear, and bless all musicians. I love
Sure.
all, but a lot of drummers, they're playing the drums and that's all they're doing. They put a pocket beat and they're doing a great job at it, but that's kind of it. Whereas drummers like Stuart Copeland, and I have to say also Mick Fleetwood, they have this way of playing and adding to the song without getting in the way of the song.
Yep.
They'll do just the most simple thing even,
Mhm.
but it's at the right place. And it's like, whoa. The little answer that happened, like Sting will sing something, and then Stewart answers with the hi-hat fill, and you're like, "Whoa,
Right.
that's really nice what he just did." And he's kind of helping the song speak. It opens it up, especially when you have a 3-man band anyway.
Yeah.
Sting,
There's a lot of space there.
There's a lot of space, but a very important space that needs to be filled in the right way.
Yeah, because you can get too busy.
Yeah.
Real fast.
easily.
I think Steve Gadd, I would put in that category too, just because he speaks so eloquently and he waits and saves it. And then when he puts something out there, you go, oh. And suddenly what he had to say was very important.
Yeah, right.
I like to try to be able to pick out what's going on in a song, the musicians, the things that are being played, that kind of stuff. And like a song like Every Little Thing, I don't know what he's hitting. Or is there an effect going on in there, like something plugged in? And then I try to think of what part of the drum kit is he hitting, because he's not hitting a drum. He's hitting like the thumb screw that holds the cymbal. It's something like, I'm like, I can't even place it because there's so many different sounds coming out. So you're right, he does play the entire kit.
Yeah,
And
there's little tricks. I mean, you guys are drummers. He's using the cup from the cymbal instead of actually hitting the ring, the big part of the cymbal. He's hitting the very center of it, which is a different sound, and he's doing something really special on it.
Yeah,
he's using, he's hitting rim
Approaching
shots.
it like a percussionist.
Yeah, he's hitting rim shots on the snare,
right?
30-second notes, 64th notes, all of that stuff. These accents, and very subtle. Where you're right. Maybe you don't even know it's a drum by the time you hit it in such a way. Richie does a lot of that too.
Yes, he does.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah.
He'll hit the rim of the stick or the side, like a percussionist
that
might do.
song Rick Marotta did that we found that was just him scooting all over the place.
It was called Hour That the Morning Comes by James Taylor. And about 11 people bought that song when it came out.
Uh-oh.
So much so that when we had Rick on the show, I said, there's two things if you are not familiar with Rick Marotta that you have to listen to start you off. The first, of course, was Peg.
Please.
And then the second was The Hour That the Morning Comes. And Rick said, now, how do you know about that? And that may have been my proudest moment in recent history.
Wow.
Because
you guys had Rick on too?
Yeah.
Oh.
We don't mess around.
Yeah,
you taught us well. You're like, here's the bar. We're like, all right, let's get over that.
Man, you guys got to send me a royalty check or something. You guys are like,
as soon as we get
super
one.
famous now. And no, but Rick, I mean, the song Peg,
Yeah. Come on.
that is clearly, to me, just in my opinion, one of the greatest productions ever. Have you ever seen the making of Peg, the video that they have on YouTube?
Yes.
I think I've seen it maybe 10 or 20
Right.
times.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
to keep watching.
I love watching it, man.
Me too. Me too. And just hearing him play that groove, live up against it.
Yeah.
And I love the way that he plays it. I love Bernard Purdy. I love Bernard Purdy. But I love the way Rick plays Peg. Because you can hear them both play it in videos on YouTube. And
Rick was
Bernard
on the track, though.
plays the heck out of it.
But Rick was on
But
the track.
Rick was on the track.
Yeah.
And when you hear him play it, you go, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, indeed.
Well, then, Chuck Rainey on the bass.
Yeah.
And then Michael McDonald on the background vocals,
Mhm.
man. And then if you watch the making, Michael was talking about how difficult
How tight that harmony
it
is.
was for him.
Yeah.
Now, you have to understand, and I know you guys do, but any listeners out there, Michael McDonald easily is one of the greatest talents that has ever tried to do anything.
Right.
You know? And for him to say that vocal was
difficult.
probably the most difficult thing he'd done up to that point is a heavy statement.
Yeah.
Because he can play and sing anything.
Well, one of the things that we have two alums from Benicia High who were there.
Panthers.
When Benicia High back in the day was on the TV20 dance party.
Oh, TV20. Yeah.
They would feature the TV20 dance party. James Gabbard. I don't know if he's still around.
No, I don't think
but
he is.
was a genius of Bay Area television, man, and he needs to be lauded.
He's one of the greats.
One of the greats.
Yeah.
The show, the TV20 dance party, would have it was like American Bandstand or Soul Train, in that there were a bunch of kids dancing, except there were a bunch of kids from one high school. And so Hogan was on there, and you saw all your friends. And, everybody got dressed up, and you saw
each episode actually
featured a high school.
Okay.
And so from that high school, for instance, Hogan High School, they said, okay, and now we're going to feature a band from the high school. Ladies and gentlemen, Truant.
Nice.
And Phil Deckard, and so Truant played. Benicia High had when it came time to have the band. I don't remember what the name of the band was that you guys had.
I don't remember either. It's been too long.
But they played Peg.
Mm.
The nerve of them.
That's hard to do.
No, it's hard to do because they got the broad strokes right. They did get the broad strokes right. But that song's not about the broad strokes. It's about the tiny, tiny subtleties and what makes that song so dang difficult. Such a challenge for world-class players.
I think you've noticed that every now and again I like to post on Facebook. I'll do a cover of a song just because I love it so much. There's no reason for me to redo it other than just that. And Peg is one of the songs that I've done, and I just haven't posted it. But I remade it just because I love the song so much. It's fun for me now because of technology, but even still, just because I'm bored maybe, I'll be at home and I'll just go ahead and dissect the song that I love and recreate it. I've done that with a few Prince songs and some different songs that I love, and I did it with Peg just because I love it so much. I love everything about it, the drums, the keyboard parts, the guitar chords.
Yeah, but you understand that bass part. You understand those parts individually in a way that a high school student just doesn't. It's rare that a high school student would understand the subtleties in some of those
to
parts.
think that a kid, could pick that up.
Yeah,
because it is that's really a complex tune, actually.
Derek Jones. We were in high school together. Derek Jones played guitar at the time, and played guitar at Curt's dad's church, and he spoke through the instrument with a very, very mature voice. So much so that we would just sit back and watch him. And even if he was playing something simple, he spoke with a grown man's voice. The rest of us, we were kids and trying to figure it out and speaking like kids. But Derek has always had a very mature voice. And Paisley. Went to high school with Paisley, too. He always spoke with a mature voice.
That's another dear friend. And we just ran into each other at a party about a month ago.
Really?
Paisley and Dwayne Wiggins.
How's he doing?
And I got to jam with them, man.
With the two of them?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
That was like, whoa. It was like a class reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paisley's great. Paisley.
Man, I miss that guy. I haven't seen him in a while.
I probably shouldn't say on the air, but Paisley actually has a really cool job that I'll tell you about later. And he could be a friend to all of us just through that.
Yes.
But no, he's doing great. He's a father now, and he's happy.
Yeah, he's got some beautiful daughters, beautiful family.
Yeah.
He's working at DigiDesign still? Or no?
Our mothers actually are dear friends now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Your mother is a dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love her.
One
She's
of
an
my
amazing
best
lady.
friends. Yeah, my parents, both of them. I mean, as are your parents, just great people.
I just met your dad recently.
Yeah.
We had it was at the Blues open mic.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, those are my buddies, man. I don't even want to do this life thing without them,
Yeah.
So it's great to have them while we do. You know what I mean? But yeah.
We're rounding third base on this show. Have we finished off the list? Is that
we-
everybody we ought to
I
have
think
on
we
the show?
added to it and just there's so many.
We
but
should have. Do you think Paisley would do this show?
I know he would, but he's family.
Yeah.
He kind of has to.
P, come on, man. Come on.
He has to.
Uh,
Lewis Hinton.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to.
He was.
Is E40 family yet? Can we finally get him? I'd love to have E40 on the show. He's hard to get.
He is hard to get.
You know what?
He's super busy.
Let's start off with getting his father, because you mentioned the blues
Yes.
just now.
We
His
should.
father, who, E40 is his father's namesake, but Earl Stevens Sr. is this incredible musician that I play with all the time.
Yeah.
So that's who you should.
I saw
Okay.
him at that
Yeah.
blues night too. I've known him. I've known him for years. I haven't seen him in many years.
Yeah.
But as soon as I introduced myself, he looked at me kind of sideways, and I said, you remember me.
He's a great man, and he's also a talented artist. You have to see his work.
And he's a lot of fun. He should do this show. He'd have fun on this show.
He will.
We'd
talk
have a
to
good
him.
time.
I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
And we'll make that happen. But if you do that, then his
Yeah.
son kind of has to do it at that point. I'm sure he will.
Well, I ran into D-Shot not long ago too.
Mhm.
We just found ourselves bellied up to the same bar.
He's another guest that you want.
And I said, come on,
Absolutely.
man, let's do it. And then he got busy. He was like, yeah, I'll come on Friday. And then he got busy and into something, and I stopped calling him. But I need to make that happen.
Yeah,
We should do it soon.
In defense of him, he is really busy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he would want to do it. Yeah, he would love to.
He also is really not involved, D-Shot, not as involved in hip-hop as he was. Not just hip-hop. He's not making rap records as much as he's fallen in love with cinema.
Mm.
So I really want to talk to him about that.
Yeah, I think so. He's a filmmaker. He's a bona fide filmmaker now.
Yeah.
And I've watched him, again, the first time E40 and his family ever came to the studio was with me and Felton
Mhm.
years ago. We were all kids, and they're all younger than me.
Vallejo, California is a music town.
Music town.
It is a music town.
But be legit, and E40
And so many
D-Shot
people in
and
this
Sugar.
generation,
Mhm.
the people that you name, but not just them, so many people in this generation will say, the first time I stepped to the mic in a studio, the first time it got serious, the guy behind the console was James Earley.
Yeah, I'm honored but it's true. But yeah, these guys are great, and at the time, D-Shot, right along with a lot of us, he was a knucklehead at the time. A little bit of a roughneck, but everybody was back
Yeah.
then a little bit. Kenny. We could keep naming. I'm talking about Carbolino.
Yeah.
I could say that now because we're so proud
Oh,
of Kenny. But a lot of people, thought that D-Shot was going to go another way, and it turns out he's a very loving husband now.
He is a devoted husband,
Yeah.
loving family
He
man.
actually sent himself to cinema school or film school
Uh-huh.
and took a course, I think, at USC or something,
hmm
and learned filmmaking.
Yeah.
And now he owns an incredible filmmaking camera, a red camera, which is really it's new technology.
Yeah.
And he owns one,
And
he
can use it.
and he can use it. He's very good, and I'm impressed. And so he's working on a few things.
Well, he's
that I
always
think
been a
we're gonna-
storyteller.
We're going to be happy to see. Yeah, he is a storyteller.
So the ability to understand the craft of story,
yeah,
that comes natural to him, the
Yeah.
timing of story.
he's a very smart man too. So yeah, we'll get him on the show. He'll do it. I'll call him and make that happen. And then also we mentioned somebody else that I really think you need to have on here, and that's Jacques. The reason why we know each other. Right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Jacques would be a fantastic guest for you to have.
Well, you know what? Twice
Mm,
I've gotten into it with Jacques where I was like, let's do this with the mics on, man.
yeah.
We need to do this with the mics on.
Uh,
And I know he will, and I
Yeah.
need to, just keep the pressure on him and go, come on. Come
no,
over.
he'd be happy to do it. We
Yeah.
just got to figure out a time and make it happen, but he'll do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We definitely should, and we definitely will.
Yeah. But I mean, there's just so many people that would be honored to be on with you guys.
Oh,
'Cause
come on,
you guys
man.
are great at what you do.
Well, we've worked hard at it, and seriously, we've followed a great example that you set with us on show
Yeah.
one. And given where we are now, 200 shows in, and we were amazed when we got positive K. Like this will never happen.
Yep.
And we took a shot at it and we got him. So
and had a great time with him.
Great time.
Yeah.
And I would love to have Positive K on again. I'd love to have Dwayne on again because
Yep.
it's been a while since we talked to him.
It has been a long time.
Speaking of Dwayne, it just
We
so
need to
happens
get
that
Ray on.
I have a niece and some nephews that are these, children of a very dear friend of mine. But just like in your community, I mean, they're like
Their family.
His children are my family.
Yeah.
And they were just the kids, but me and their parents were in a band together when we were young.
Okay.
Flash forward, we're all much older now, and the kids just decided one day we want to play. And at first it was cute. Okay, I'm gonna buy you a guitar or whatever, and you'll put it down after a while. Anyway, they kept going, and they made a band, and now the band is incredible.
Yeah.
They're called the Jamming Nachos, and they are badass, and they're kids.
Let's
still.
get them.
They're like around, all of them are like between the ages of like 15 and 21 or something. But you really should have them on the show because
We love it.
they are fabulous. That's me saying it. They're fabulous.
Yeah, we love that kind
It's
of
not
stuff.
just cute. If they were just that, I might be like, well, maybe not. But no, they're incredible.
Yeah.
And it would be fun, I think, for them and you guys for them to be on the show.
We're in.
Yeah, we love that kind of stuff.
They're certainly stars of the future. They're on the way. They're going to be the next big thing. But anyway, I mentioned Dwayne because Dwayne, it turns out, is helping develop them now.
That's what he does.
Yeah, he's great at that.
That is Dwayne's gift. Not only making music, but helping cultivate
To his credit,
young musicians.
Dwayne discovered Beyonce.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
Discovered and developed.
A lot of people, developed her, and
Yeah.
a lot of people just aren't aware of that fact. Dwayne is very sweet and humble, not to even, like, I'd be wearing a shirt. Look, I
Yeah.
discovered Beyonce. Everyone should know, but he doesn't
Right.
do that. He's just like, hey, how you doing? And
Like you don't have anything to wear a shirt about, and we don't see you wearing a shirt. Yeah, he is, and a great guy.
yeah,
He's such a great
he
guy.
is.
We do need to get back to Dwayne.
Yeah.
I think he was guest
Six?
number 6.
6.
Yeah.
Think about
And then he
that.
came back on another time, and then he came back on another time with Tara.
And then the Sly Stone show.
And
he was in that.
actually, we probably recorded 10 of our first 25 shows at his place.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember before we recorded a single show, we met him, and we said, actually, that's not true. We had recorded your show, episode number 1. And then we met Dwayne, and we said, we're launching this podcast, and our very first guest was James Earley. And he said, oh, he's a great producer. And we said, yeah, we know. When are you going to do the show? And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. But a lot of the reason why he was confident enough, he's a kind enough guy that I think, we approached him properly, and he would have said yes anyway. But I think a lot of the reason that he was really able to just confidently, he hadn't known us 5 minutes
Yeah.
before he said, sure, let's do it, was because our guest number 1 was James Earley.
He's another great guy, and he doesn't have to be. He's busy enough where people would understand.
Yeah, he
if
doesn't have to do
wasn't
anything he doesn't want to do.
Such a sweetheart, but yeah, I mean, just a short story about his sweetness. I mean, and he didn't have to do it. He was in Sacramento, and I think I was in the area, and Tony was coming through to do a show in Sac. I had a young lady I was seeing at the time, and she wanted to see the show. And I was like, well, and we called and they were sold out. So I was like, she's like, and I said, well, wait a minute, I know Dwayne, and I had his number in my phone. I was like, well, maybe I can give him a call and see about getting, me in, maybe, I don't know. And I called him, and this is only a couple of hours before the show. I'm totally knowing that he's probably not going to answer his phone. He's busy. He just, he may not even try to pick up the call, or even if I talk to him, he probably would say no.
He's busy.
Anyway, he answered the phone, and he was just, oh, Jay, he totally remembered me. It had been a while since I'd seen him, but he knows me. And he was like, yeah, no problem, man. I'll leave some tickets for you, and you come in and everything. And so I brought my girl to the show, and we're in the audience watching the show. And she's so happy because we got into the sold-out concert of Tony. And halfway through the show, man, Dwayne stops the band. He's like,
Yes.
James Earley, I see you out there, man. What's up? And I'm like, loving it. I'm just like, yeah, this is cool. They clapped for me and everything. But he acknowledged me. He didn't even have to do that. And he did right in the middle of his concert. You know what I mean? And I just thought that was very kind. He didn't have to do that, man.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. He is. And he's helped so many people again. He's a Bay Area institution at this point, I would say.
Yep.
Did he get his brother on the show?
Yeah. He'd be great to have on the show, too. If we got Ray on the show, that'd be amazing. He's moved to Los Angeles. Dwayne stayed here. So, I mean, I don't begrudge Raphael for moving to Los Angeles, but I do celebrate Dwayne for staying here.
Yeah, they're cousins too. Elijah Baker is an incredible bassist and producer himself. Elijah is the bass player for Tony, and he's their cousin. And even though in the studio, Ray's playing the bass, on stage, Elijah would always play bass.
And he wears a vest really well. He's got big pipes.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah.
But they, buff guy. But they wouldn't let him play the bass unless he was incredible, know. And all of the musicians, of course, as
you
we
don't
know,
get
are
on
Tony.
that stage with him if you aren't bad.
So he's another person that you might want to interview, Elijah Baker.
Oh, we want everybody.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Levi?
Oh, yeah, Levi.
Where you at, Levi?
A Richmond boy. He won't want to do it. Yeah.
Come on, Levi.
Yeah.
You know someone who we're going to get, and it's crazy to say this, but then again, it's not. But we've had Brian Dunn on this show. That leads to one place.
Yep.
We're going to get that guy.
What about Michael Cooper? Have you had him on?
No, but
that's happening.
We're working on him in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
We haven't had Michael on yet, but I had Jeff Traeger at this table last night, and I said, Jeff, who you got coming up? He said, I got Confunction coming to the Downtown Theater in Fairfield on November 11th.
Yeah.
I said, call Michael for me. And he said, all right. So we'll get him. We'll get him soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. He probably wouldn't mind if I call him that, but he's actually Officer Michael Cooper. And I think
Deputy.
I think it would be kind of cool to have him on, just even if you talk about that. He's a giving, loving man, and one of the, he too.
And he'll pick you up and whoop you too.
He too, he's easily. But he too is one of the greatest guitar players. Man.
Oh man.
God. We need some guitar players too. Our rhythm section is strong.
We got strong rhythm section.
Yeah.
We're hurting for guitar players.
Yeah, I was invited to do a show because Eric EQ couldn't do it, and Confunction, Michael Cooper, and Felton Pilot called me in to sit in for Eric and play bass on a show. They flew me out to Atlanta with them, and I had to. Well, Michael was like, "Okay, come by my house and let's run over the songs and make sure you have it." And I think we, even though they had 20 songs in their set that I had to learn in 3 days, I'm cramming. I pretty much knew
they were all
their
Confunction
stuff.
songs, so it's not like you had to learn the arrangements.
Well, I did have to learn some breaks, some live stuff that they, they adjusted,
embellishments.
But Michael Cooper is no slouch on the guitar, and he's sitting there with his guitar, and I got my bass, and even though we're great friends, and he's a mentor. I played probably only about 5 songs. He was like, "Oh man, you got this."
Yeah.
And we just sat there again in his house in Vacaville, and we just laughed about other things, talked about industry stuff. But still, when we were actually playing, I'm watching this guy, and I know his abilities.
Yeah.
But to see it and right in front of me, I mean, he is an incredible guitar player.
Yeah.
And these guys are a little bit older than us, you know what I mean? And that really impressed me too, because I went to go do their concert. And again,
we're going to talk about endurance.
We're performing for like 10,000, easily. This was a huge festival concert. I'm the youngest guy in the band, and, maybe me and Brian on stage, but still, you mentioned endurance. These guys move like they're 17, 18 years old. It's incredible.
This is one of the great things about our era now, because, the guys that are still playing, they're not using a bunch of drugs and alcohol. They've quit it for a long time, and they've been able to build an athlete's body for playing. And so we get to see these guys. I mean, at some point, assuming he wants to, and it's set up basically, we're going to get George Benson. Hey, he's super old, but he's still out in the road. I mean, he works within his age limits, but he's out actively doing this thing, and he's not just sitting down.
He's a beyond incredible guitar player.
Yeah,
George
absolutely.
is like a freak of nature easily. So
yeah, it's one of the things that we aspire to, and we talked to Preston, and he and Preston are good friends and have worked together, often, and recently. So Preston was going to help us try to get him, and kind of nudged us his way. So we're working towards it. I will say the other guitarist that I'd really like to have on the show is Ray Parker.
That's a good one.
Because that boy is bad.
He's got a story to tell you. He too is a multi-instrumentalist. I mentioned that word because I'm a bassist, but I play guitar and I play other instruments, and I consider
All of them.
I consider myself to be a little bit of all of those. I don't even want to just say I'm just a bassist because I'm not really. And Ray Parker Jr. was probably right along with Paul McCartney and Prince and Stevie Wonder. He was one of the first people that I witnessed play everything on his records.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know Ray Parker Jr. is playing all the instruments on Ghostbusters and Jack and Jill and all those other great songs that he did. You know, even Mr. Telephone Man. That's him playing everything, you know.
The Other Woman.
Yeah, The Other Woman.
That was a bad cut.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I mean, you know, he played with Herbie Hancock.
He played with everyone. Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
He was an in-demand guitar player when he was like 19 or 20. He
Right.
came from Detroit, and he came from that school of where pretty much everybody was incredible. So you had to be incredible to be a part of their circle.
Yeah.
Or you weren't part of their circle.
Right.
You were outside of the circle. But he was one of the youngest. Certainly, you could consider him to be a child prodigy. Because I think right out of high school, they were just like, we got to have this guy in the studio playing on hit songs that weren't yet hits. Of course, they were made, and he's the guitar player on it, and then it comes out and it blows up. So he's got a story to tell you.
Yeah.
So Stevie Wonder had a band called Wonder Love. Ray Parker Jr. was the guitar player, one of the guitar players for Wonder Love in the very early 70s.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. This ride that you've helped us go on, nearly 200 episodes now, has been a lot of fun, and it started with your encouragement.
Well, here's to another 250 or 2,000.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are just beginning, but you know, look, you guys are gonna have a TV show really soon. And, you know what I mean? You guys will be like Oprah Winfrey. You'll be billionaires one day. And
Okay, take it easy.
I used to know them way back.
Take
when.
it easy.
This
You
is
know
how-
what?
this
If
is how it
financial
starts.
success comes to us like that, you know what we're going to do?
Yeah,
We're going to go down to the pier and fish with Curt.
Come on.
that's right. There you go.
Yeah. You know, when you launch all these careers, I was there when, you know, Mac Dre grabs the mic, or whoever it's going to be, all those people that are out there.
Yeah.
You know, we're in that group now. Like, you've helped kind of nudge us to the point where legitimately we're talking about Daryl Hall. You know, we've got our hooks into Herbie Hancock. We don't have him yet, but I'm not going to, John and I talk this all the time. You can say almost any name now, and we're not going to be surprised when we get that person. Because we built a show that
We went to Stuart Copeland's house.
yeah,
Oh wow.
Rick
Yeah.
Murata's house.
We went to Rick Murata's house.
Well,
And
let me say that you guys are intellectuals, and let's be honest. I mean, there's some people that are doing these shows or blogs or whatever. They're not interesting. They don't know how to talk to people. They don't have good questions. They haven't done their homework. They don't know who they have in the seat. And that's a problem. But you guys are smart guys, and these are who I think anyone would want to talk to. You know, you guys are the guys that people would want to talk to because you make it fun. And again, you've done your homework. You know so much, and you at the same time you let your guest be a guest. You know, let it breathe, and that's kudos to both of you. To be great interviewers is quite a talent. You know.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
I think that's where we stop.